Last of Us was like the best year of my life, and it's not going to be the same. So I just have to like go into it being like, this is season 2, and I loved season 1, but this is just going to be different.
Bella Ramsey is with us right now.
Yes, Bella, Ellie herself. Bella, thank you so much for joining us today.
Well, of course, thank you for having me. And my cat is joining. You can't see him because it's quite dark, but he's going to be a part of this because he is incredibly old, incredibly needy.
Coming off the heels of last week, which was like the DLC, what did you learn about Ellie from that backstory, from that DLC, and seeing her relationship with Riley? I just love there's this moment where Riley gets out the $5 bill and Ellie's like, kind of says like, oh, have you done this with anybody else before, essentially? And I was like, that is me. That was me as a teenager.
Yeah, I mean, that's really funny that you say that. Yeah, I mean, I think that episode was really just about like what it was like for Ellie before like that experience at the end, like it's the first time she's experienced loss at the end of that episode, and then like obviously that continues and continues and continues like once she begins this journey. But yeah, this took place, I think they say like 3 weeks before Ellie first meets Joel. So I think it's just really cool to have that backstory and like to see what Ellie was like before all of this, and before she knew she was immune, and like just existing and having a crush on her best friend, and like how that plays out. I just think it's cool, and it ties in really well to her relationship with Joel and like the point that they're at.
I love that HBO Max tweeted the best friend stare with like you guys looking at each other, and I was like, okay, best friends.
Friends. History will say they were roommates.
Yeah, history will say they were roommates.
That episode last week on our show, we were talking about, you know, we all have our imagination of what happened after the Riley and Ellie story ended in the show and in the game. They ended the same point. They have the choices, and then it doesn't really tell us what happens next. What do you think, as some, you know, the person who is embodying Ellie? You are Ellie. What do you think happened? Do you think about that?
Yeah, I did think about that quite a lot, because it also was going to inform like how Ellie is going forwards. I don't know, like depending on the level of trauma, like it's gonna be different. But there was conversations that happened around that actually, and I think we sort of agreed on. I don't know what to say because it's like I think it's up to people's imaginations really, but from our point of view, I think Ellie probably had to make a really hard decision and do something she really didn't want to do and experience great loss. And like that links back to that scene in episode 4, possibly. I lose track of the episodes. Where she's like, "It wasn't my first time."
Oh yeah,
seeing somebody, and
yeah,
it's like, could that first time have been Riley? Possibly.
That's what I was thinking. And then the whole survivor's guilt of her probably just going through this whole thing of being like, why am I not turning? What is going on? Like, and even like being kept in the dark with it makes it so much more tough.
Yeah, and that's why I don't want to like. I don't know if we ever did like explicitly agree, and I think it's more powerful that it's kept like unspoken and kept to people's imaginations, because I think the imagination can often be like darker than reality.
Yeah.
Now we're getting deep. Jeez, sorry.
Anyone else shows up, I put
One
one
right between my eyes.
That's right.
This is the part of the game where it's the first time we play as Ellie because Joel got impaled. So this week and last week, you're kind of like you're in this show without Pedro. Like this is Ellie kind of on your own. How was it? Did it change? Does the set change? Does the experience, the expectation, the day change when there is no Joel around? How does that change the energy for you?
It completely changes it. Like suddenly my whole Last of Us experience has been so tied to Pedro. So to like then find like how to like I don't know how to function on set without him was weird. I had withdrawal symptoms from being around him all the time, and his stupid jokes and him playing Xanadu on his phone endlessly. So it was yeah, it was a weird change, and I missed him. I really, really, really missed him, which I think actually worked like for the episode, and it was just it made me also appreciate him even more when he was back. I'm like, oh yeah, I missed you.
Pedro wasn't there, but the original Joel Miller, Troy Baker was. I'm curious what that experience was like for you.
I think me and Troy had this immediate respect for each other because I had seen bits of the game, and he was obviously coming onto the show, and it was actually it was a really special experience meeting him for the first time and being like, it's like that Spider-Man meme when it's like, yeah, it felt like that. But I don't really know how much we talked about the like. I think he was basically like encouraging me that I was Ellie, you know, and I was like equally as and in awe of his Joel, and I think we just like bonded over that a little bit. We didn't talk about it a lot. We didn't pick each other's brains. We just sort of like took it as a new thing.
He was singing your praises when we interviewed him.
Oh, bless him.
We have a little message from Troy who wants to share his thoughts on how things went down in this episode.
I'm terrified.
Caught me in the neck, dude. In the neck. And that scene was a lot longer. So my next question is to Craig. We'll talk about it.
He did tell us about how messy it got and how many times they had to reset the blood bag and all that stuff. But so how many times did you have to kill the original Joel Miller on set?
Quite a lot of times. I just remember him walking around with like axe in his neck all day, and also me being so like desensitized to like all of this and just being like, oh, Troy has an axe in his neck. Like it didn't. It's a problem of like growing up in this industry. You really become desensitized to things like that. That was a long day. It just kept going and going and going and going. And I think Troy was even there. Like they had to do a little insert shot, I think, of him after. Yeah, I killed original Joel quite a few times, but he was like gonna murder me and like eat me. So I think it's fine.
I think it was justified. Do you think that, like, how does this kind of change Ellie, and if at all, now that, because that reunion, maybe Joel expected more of an embrace, and it comes, but it's this horrific moment. And what do you think this kind of, like, what happens now?
Oh, that's a big question. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a shift. Like, she's experienced traumas before, but like this is like nothing that she's ever experienced. And I don't think she ever anticipated, like, of all the things that could have gone wrong in this world, like all the time she could have died up until now, like she did not anticipate this. I think she is also scared not only of like what happened with David and what he was going to do to her, but she's also, I think, maybe more afraid of what she did to him. And that violence that lives within her, I don't think that we see her, like, she punched Bethany in the face in the last episode, and like we've seen her be violent, but not like this. Like this is, and I think that scares her, like what she's capable of. She killed David probably within like the first 2 hacks of the axe to his face, and she just kept going and kept going and kept going, and it felt good. In the same way that, like, when Joel was beating that guy to death, it was like he didn't have to do that. It's sort of, yeah, I don't know, it's a lot.
What has been your favorite reactions to the show so far?
I'm very aware that I have like there's like a gay army who are on Twitter who are just like supporting me and Ellie, and it's like they're so much louder than any people who still hate it or hate the show, like homophobic trolls, whatever. And it's just like that feels nice to just have like that army behind me. That's been a reaction that I've really enjoyed, and also just people being like I love gamers' reactions to the show. Like that's the thing that feels the most validating is when like gamers, beloved gamers who are so invested in the game to then say like this is so good and like lives up to all my expectations and exceeds them. Like that's the thing, that's the reaction that feels like really, really cool.
Have you seen, it's like the meme, it's Joel and Ellie in the game and Joel's wearing a shirt that says I love my lesbian daughter.
Oh yeah,
That's my favorite.
Oh, and actually, you know, to answer your question better, like it's all the memes that have come out of it. Oh, the meme reactions that people are doing. Like there was one the other day that I loved after the episode 7, where it's like Ellie, game Ellie, has her hands in her head and she's like, "I'm so gay." What and I just love them. I love people like rehashing the game memes to like react to the show.
Not to take away from the fun of being a fan, but I do have to ask you about this episode, this show specifically. You talk about the reactions to it. Has any of the episodes stood out to you as like memorably challenging emotionally to get through? What has been the toughest one for you to like look at and be like, wow, Ellie's got to go through this. I have to perform this.
Episode 8 for sure. Like,
this one,
no question. Yeah, this one. It's just the most intense. Like it's Ellie surviving without Joel and surviving for Joel and enduring so much pain for him. Yeah, and it was cold. Like it was emotionally and physically. This was like the toughest episode, for sure. But I loved it. Like I had a great time. But yeah, it was. I remember reading the script and I actually have videos of me reading the script for the first time because I was this is sort of a funny story. I was really concerned that my American accent wasn't American anymore because I'd like got so used to it. So it's like, I'm going to record myself reading this episode out loud so that I can listen back and see if I sound American. And then it just turned into me like live reacting to the crazy that I was reading, and I have them somewhere. I dread. I don't think I can ever watch them back, but I remember the first time I realized reading the script that like these guys were cannibals. I was like, what? It was pretty.
I want to see those.
Yeah, if you don't want to watch them, we will. It's
maybe one day.
You guys are all wrapped up on season 1 and season 2 renewal. We're all so excited to hear about. Are you like how do you get ready to go back to work and do this again? How are you feeling about that?
I'm really excited. It still feels surreal to me that it's gonna go again. But also I'm going into it with the I don't want to go into it comparing it to the experience of the first season because I'm like that's never gonna. Like season 1 of The Last of Us was like the best year of my life and it's not going to be the same. So I just have to like go into it being like, this is season 2 and I loved season 1, but this is just going to be different.